the slave population in the United States. Notice in 1800, at almost 1 million slaves in the United States. Now remember, only 193,000 from the beginning of them bringing them here, over 100 years. But remember that from 1800 to 1866, that only 100,000 slaves were brought. But look at the number, 4 million slaves.
100,000.
Where did that number
So that
come
means
from?
nearly
Now,
4
don't
million
forget
were
this,
already
that we have to
here
realize
after the
that
murdering of
2/3
their
those numbers were
ancestors.
African males. 1/3 of the cargo was children and females. If we only did, there were 22% children. If we only did the females, only 14% of those people were females. Who's making all the slaves if there's only 26,000? 26,000 females. Because again, when the females were coming over, they had to acclimate to they're riding on a boat for 3 months, which is going to knock your system totally out of whack. Okay, and most of the females, when they came over, they were not able to bear children. How are they going to be making all these slaves that were in the United States? Who were these people who were making all of these babies to provide slaves for the United States? And the United States was the only place where we were making our slaves here. That's why the numbers are much smaller, because we were growing our own slaves here. But who were the people that they were using? They were utilizing the indigenous people here. They were utilizing the indigenous people here. How else could they come up with these large numbers? People here. They were utilizing the indigenous people they were using. They were utilizing the indigenous people here. They were utilizing the indigenous people here. How else could they come up with these large numbers?
They need to understand, and if they go into the Catholic archives here in America, they will find out that in the 60s and the 50s, what they call black and African Americans, and African Americans didn't come along. Back then they were saying Afro, but according to the U.S. Census record,
Afro.
you were listed as a Negro Indian. Black folks don't like to read. Go read the congressional records. I don't get information from authors. I go to the source.
Not that many people were brought here from Africa as slaves on any slave ship. Some of our people were captured here and enslaved here, tricked into servitude and tricked out of their properties through these servitudes, but it was not slavery as you know it today or you think you know it.
Right? Tell them, bro. Don't know nothing. You've been lied to. These are the faces telling you the truth. Listen. This is your history. This is our history. This is the native struggle.
Stay safe. Ready?
Mr. Northup, I have two gentlemen whose acquaintance you should make, Messrs. Brown and Hamilton.
Sir?
Mr. Northup, these two gentlemen were inquiring about distinguished individuals, and I was just this very moment saying Solomon Northup.
If we could persuade you to accompany us as far as Washington, we could give you $1 for each day's services and $3 for every night plated out performances. In addition, we will provide sufficient pay for your return here to Saratoga.
Welcome to Washington, Solomon.
Solomon, $43 all to you.
That is far more than my wages amount to.
It's been a most profitable week.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Another. Oh. Hamilton, we must hurry. Let him sleep, Hamilton. Hamilton, there's nothing more we can do for him.
Well, boy, how you feel now?
My name is Solomon Northup. I'm a free man. a resident of Saratoga, New York, the residence of my wife and children who are equally free, and you have no right whatsoever to detain me.
You're not any free.
Now, I promise you upon my liberation, I will have satisfaction for this wrong.
Resolve this.
Produce your papers. You're no free man. And you ain't from Saratoga. You're from Georgia. You ain't a free man. You ain't a free man. You're nothing but a Georgia runaway. You're just a runaway nigger. Runaway nigger. Nigger. Runaway nigger.
Another word I'm going to give you, the word nigger, Nigger. According to the Oxford English
Dr.
Dictionary,
Yaffa, get it.
2003 edition, third entry, nigger. And basically they talk about dark complexioned people anywhere, but then they go on to say, in U.S. use, actually in early U.S. use, it applied to American Indians, usually derogatory. There were more people brought from here to Africa, and from here to Europe, and from South America to North America, and from South and North America to the Caribbean islands and so on, and back again, and that kind of thing.
Tell him some of my men are staying here to build the fort. I want them to be well treated.
Remember now, when you see these posts on this video from books, stop the video. Stop the video and read them. Take a picture with your phone or something. It's all quality information. You see how they try to make it seem like
many of us
was only Mongoloids. See, this has been the whole part of the whole Renaissance period, the whitewashing. They don't want you to know you're from America, because then you're going to have land rights. You're going to know a lot of these treaties were done with your ancestors. You're going to know that in these pyramids, those pictures of you is you. And they're going to know that they didn't bring you, which they try to propagate every single day. So they can say, go back to Africa. Go back to where you guys came from. When they the ones who came from somewhere else. They're not even from Europe. You have to remember, they're not even native to Europe. They went to Europe and conquered the people over there and stood in their stead.
He said how many?
as many as the leaves on that tree. And many more will follow.
Why?
To bring the word of God.
He said he has a God.
Now, the funny thing about it is they lie about everything, because if they're bringing the word of God, when you're God's children, and in his own writing saying that he's coming to conquer Mount Zion and the Holy Lands, this is just a flip, a turn around, a 360, like right on you, and you don't even realize it. Everything you've been taught is a lie. And these faces you see on these videos, and my face is the face of the people telling you the truth.
Tell him we admire his people.
He knows you lie his women and gold.
Eaten by a fever that refuses to.
The first attempt, the first success of crossing the Atlantic by one man could only come from the American side, because the crossing is much less difficult in that direction. A French writer has said justly, in all probability, that if America had been the old world, its inhabitants would have discovered Europe long before we did, in fact, discover America. This is because the prevailing winds from the west, as well as the currents, one can say, mere and sail in a straight line from Boston via Newfoundland to Ireland or Cornwall, with almost the certainty of fair winds. The other direction requires twice the distance, thrice the time, and 4 times the sweat.
Leave his body. We must return to Spain.
Saint Mary of the Good Winds was the patron saint of navigators and a favorite of Columbus. This altar painting dates from shortly after Columbus died and features what's considered the first and most accurate portrait of the great explorer on the left. It's also thought to be the first painting of Indians done in Europe.
Negroes.
Here's some other books that you might like, but you don't have to take my word for it.
Afro-Asians. There's a so-called African people that was in these lands, but a lot of us aren't even African. A lot of us are Afro-Asian, and we come from Asia. And unbeknownst to the Africans, they come from Asia too, and they migrated to Africa. Alright, so this is the book right here that tells you about the slave trade and Native Americans being taken in the 1400s, even as early as the 8th and 9th century, from America in the North America, and then in the South America in the 1400s and late 1300s. So get this book. This book is cool. But at the end of that video, you seen the picture right here. And that picture right there is a book called America, the latest and most accurate description of the New World. So, we get a little shine lighty lighty. It's the Negroes of America. So, this book is dope. This book it costs $56,000, and it's illegal to sell in America, supposedly. I'm guessing the original. So this guy bought the original, and he copied all the pages, and he reprinted the book. He sells it out of India through Amazon, and this book he sells for $50. So go and get yourself this book. And this is where this book has a lot of history. I'm going to read it from the screen so you can see it. Okay, so it goes. Tartary or Tartary, so called from the river Tartar, which runs through the country Mogul into the northern ocean, covers a great part of the terrestrial globe, The Lesser Tartary makes out a considerable part of Europe. The greater is Asia. This great Tartary, which is 1,000 leagues long and 600 broad, reckon 5 chief provinces, viz. The Wild Tartary, inhabited by herdsmen, Sagatai, of which the metropolis is Samarkand, famous for the mighty Tamerlan, next Turkestan, then Kitai, which the Great Cham commands. So Great Cham is the descendants of Africa, the Chamanites, who Genghis Khan descended from. So Genghis Khan was actually called Genghis Cham, but they changed it, or actually called Zingis Cham, but they changed it so you wouldn't know who's the real Africans before the migrations and diasporas. So you go, and lastly, Old Tartary, according to Andreas Cassirissen's, the habitation of Gog and Magog. Now we must inquire from what Tartars the Americans are extracted. Monius Porcellus. So what happened was, they took us. This is the Assyrian captivity of Israel. So they took us from Tartary, and two and a half of the 12 tribes stayed in Tartary, and that's how you get a lot of these Asiatic Afros in these regions today, all throughout these regions. That's why you got all these people like who's stringy hair people with no afros saying we're the people, because they have a remnant of us among them. And so they, just like in Hawaii, how everybody who has Hawaiian is like 100%, oh, Hawaiian, and they gravitate to what remainder of them is, or what aspects they still have of their nations that they descend from. So same thing. So 2.5 of us stayed up there, okay, Tartary, and the rest of us ended up going to Africa and to America. So let's continue. Monius, Postulus, Genebradus, Portellus, and others are of the opinion that the Tartars, which about the year 1228, under the command of Genghis Khan, overspread the earth like a deluge. So right there you already have a problem, because in the Assyrian captivity, the date is actually 730, 745, 734. See, 734 is the date they have under the Assyrian captivity of Israel. And so you see down here it says deportation by Tiglath-Pileser 734 to 732, deportation by Salmanaser and Sargon 724 and 729, and deportation by Sargon 716 and 715. So this was a long time, people. They took a lot of us. They took a lot of us out of there, and so I don't know if exactly 9.5 came down, but this is the Assyrian captivity. Let's get back to it, okay? Because we have to take into account for the Exodus when Moses came. So it's complex, but here we go. Let's continue. It's going to open it up so you guys understand more. Are the opinions that the Tartars, which about the year 1228, under the command of Zingis Khan, overspread the earth like a deluge. They were the successors of the 10 tribes of Israel, which were carried into captivity to Assyria by Shalmaneser. The name Tartary, or rather Tartaria, seems to be some testimony thereof, being it signifies in the Syrian or Hebrew tongue remnants or remainders, as seemingly because the Tartarians were remainders of the fomented tribes, nay, the northern Tartary herdsmen preserve to this day the names Dan, Zebulun, and Naphtali, wherefore we need not to admire why so many Jews are found in Russia, Samartia, and Leesland. Nay, the nearer to Tartary, the more Jews they are. Now this one, it gets deep too. Now at the bottom it goes, circumcision hath a long time been observed among them. Before Muhammad brought in his new law, it seems that the Muhammad ordered the circumcision and other laws according to Moses to be observed by the northern people, because that in this his time they began to rebel, that so they might be kept in awe by their new religion. So what happened was, the people who stayed, the remainder of us who stayed in this captivity of Israel in Tartary, they had, see, you gotta understand, Mohammedanism, which was created by the Vatican to combat Judaism. This is when it started to come into fruition. And what happened was, Muhammad brought in this new law, and he started to oppress the people who remained there, our people, the Israelites, Afro-Asiatics with high cheekbones, medium-sized nose, copper-colored skin, all colors of brown, Afro with woolly to super curly Afro hair, full beards. He started to oppress them, and it wasn't working. So what he did was he took some of the laws of Moses and he applied it to his Mohammedanism, and that was circumcision and other things that the people today still observe. So just like everybody who had captured us, they try to oppress us with their oppressive laws, and then they add something from our history to help us, to usher us in, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds familiar. Shit. So yeah. So you gotta understand, there were more than one Jerusalem, and there's been many migration and diasporas. They have even come to America and captured us and taken us back to the mainland. They've captured us from Russia and taken us to America. They've done a lot. They've just yinged and yanged us all over the place. And that's what it's been a lot of times. It's been a lot of migrations. That's why when you do your DNA, you'll have DNA all over the place, and that's like different migration charts for your family or people you're related to. So, let's move on. So this is what they say the slave trade is. Well, you just seen from the video that, and from the book, that is, let me get this book out real quick. It says this, twice the distance, thrice the time, and 4 times the sweat. This is because the prevailing winds from the west, as well as the currents. One can say so this is because the winds and the currents are going in the opposite direction. So it's super hard. And in America, in Africa and Europe, they have many tales of ships and people coming from America in ancient times. Because all you gotta do is get shipwrecked in America, and that shit'll bring you right there. And plus too, you gotta understand, when they say they went from Sierra Leone all to these places, they're lying. Because you cannot just go like in this certain routes. The currents only take you to certain places. So you gotta be wary of, well, they say, oh, it's so easy to do this and that and this and that and this and that and this where we went, this, that. Everything has to be questioned when it comes from these people. This is what they say they got your ass on. Some packed you like sardines, man. for months in out. Your woman went through 3 or 4 different periods, and shit, you guys are shitting all over the place. No, and somehow you guys made it. And even though 100,000 of you came down with 26,000 women, millions and millions of slaves were created out of this. It's all bull crap. It's all crap. Now, this area where Benin and Cameroon, Ghana. Now, this area is where we flooded into on many occasions. Even when we left Babylon to Timbuktu, talks about us flooding into those areas because there had people that look like us in those areas or have remnants of us in those areas because of the Assyrian captivity of Israel. We don't understand that Africa is not the home of all the black people. Asia is the home. Well, we all migrated or conquered Africa in ancient times during different struggles, and this is how we get the landscape we get today. So there was a lot of people that looked like us. There was the Ishmaelites. You see how they look similar, where they had the line, the mustache, the full beard. Because what is Ishmaelites? Ishmaelites is the son of Abraham. So they're going to have the Hebrew and the so-called African phenotypes with the swirls on the top of their head. That's why when you see the guys with the rings on the top of their head and they got full beards, like, damn, what are you, man? But they're actually Hebrews. They carry the father's phenotypes with the full beard, but they get the mom's rings. And throughout history, they keep the rings and they let them go keep it depending on how they breed it. And then you got the Edomites. So there's the black Edomites. So you see how these guys, they're Hebrew too. They're Israel's twin brother. So they got the same phenotypes. You gotta remember, Esau married a lighter skinned woman, white woman, and a Mongoloid woman, and he married an Ishmaelite. So their kids are dark. This is Elector Frederick III, the Wise of Saxony, of 1507. He's an Afro-Asiatic. He's an Edomite. Then you got my bad. Then you got Africans, so-called Africans. The reason how you can tell they're Africans, the phenotypes are a little different. You see how he can't grow a full beard. See the full beard, and the nose is a little different. You see how this guy. You see how he cannot grow, and he's a lot darker too. See, there's branches of us that are really dark because we mixed with them. We mixed a lot, you know. We always mix. Today we mixing like crazy, especially if we start mixing when we're uneducated. So we get plenty mixes. Alright, so we just came from the Assyrian captivity. So this says the Assyrian captivity